Hi, I'm Nick.
And I'm Mel. I grew up playing outside.
And I grew up doing something meaningful, watching movies and TV.
I never had cable, and we finally bought a VCR about the same time DVD players hit the market.
Throughout our marriage, Mel has sadly missed many of my pop culture references and movie quotes.
So it's time to catch up on all the films I missed.
Good evening.
Hello, Nick.
Hello, Melissa. How are you?
I'm great. I'm ready to watch a movie.
Are you? Yeah, I am too.
Okay.
I just wanted to give you an honest assessment of my mental state. And yeah, no, I'm in the mood to watch a movie.
It all checks out.
It all checks out. I'm more interested in if I would ever be in a situation where I would not be able to watch a movie, like I would be trapped and unable to do this thing that I really wanted to do, and I'd have to work around it, you know?
Sure. I'm glad you're not feeling that
I'm not. Do you know what we're going to be watching
Nope.
tonight?
Not a clue.
No? Okay, that's interesting. I'm going to give you a little space to see if you can figure out what we're going to be watching.
A little space.
Yeah.
Is it like sci-fi space movie?
Maybe.
Is there an original Battlestar Galactica movie? She asks, hopefully.
We're not watching that.
Okay. Oh, there is?
I'm not answering that either.
What do you hear, Starbuck? Okay, space movie. I don't know.
All right. We are going to watch the film Apollo 13.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Have you ever seen this movie?
No, I've seen a clip of it, and I know Tom Hanks is in it.
Okay.
Ron Howard directed.
This was a risky one for me. You know, I'm trying really hard to get movies you haven't seen. This was a risky one because I was like, there's a high likelihood she would have heard of this movie and then maybe even seen it, given how much you love space stuff. So I'm actually quite pleasantly surprised that you haven't seen it.
I've always wanted to see it.
Yeah, what else do you know about it?
Just that I've wanted to see it. It's about
okay.
It's about Apollo 13.
What is Apollo 13?
I don't know. We'll find out in the movie.
Is this a true story? Is this fictional? What is it?
This is based on a true story.
Okay.
And Apollo 13 was a mission sent into space by NASA.
Okay.
And some things go wrong.
Okay.
And they have to figure out how to solve the things.
Okay.
That's all I know.
Do you know why they were going into space?
For this mission? No, I don't.
Okay.
Oh, that's a good question.
You're going to learn a lot then.
Yeah.
I'm excited for you.
Yeah, me too. And it's Ron Howard, I think, directed it, as I said.
Interesting. Okay.
Or not. Or he's in it.
We're
or
going to find out.
Or he narrates it. No, I'm just kidding.
They thought they were going into space for a certain reason.
They weren't. Not. Yeah, that's all I know.
Okay. No other actors you can think of? I think you said Tom Hanks, right?
Like there's a guy that I can see his face in my mind, but I've never known his name.
All right. I really want, and I'm not confirming or denying, but I'm just picturing Tom Hanks in like a tiny lunar module with Christopher Walken. And that would be amazing to me.
What a weird matchup.
That would be so great. I'm hoping that I'm misremembering what this movie's about, and that's what the movie's going to be about.
You are a toy. A toy.
Why isn't it moving? Huh? The controls. They're not clicking.
They're not clicking.
Anyway. Oh yeah, all the clickies. The thing I love about watching movies from this era is all the clickies. Like all the buttons and everything is very tactile. So
I do. I love that too.
I really enjoy that. Okay, so what are a couple things you're excited about and potentially dreading about watching this movie?
I'm excited about going back to space.
Okay.
I'm excited to see young Tom Hanks.
Okay.
And to finally see this movie and learn about Apollo 13. And I'm dreading. I'm not scared.
Which is
if we're in the hands of Ron Howard, I am cool as a cucumber. I'm just gonna strap in and enjoy the ride.
That's a good pun. And I think it's hilarious. You're like, I'm not afraid of a situation in this movie. And it's like literally, anyway.
It's just reminding me of like another movie that we have watched where I was really excited about it.
Yes.
And then it turns out it was nothing like what I thought.
Yeah, movies can be like that sometimes.
Yeah. But I have a feeling that I could be wrong, but I have a feeling that I'm pretty accurate about being excited for this movie.
All right. Speaking of accuracy, what do you think the movie poster of this one looked like? And the tagline, and then we can go check it out.
It's a view from space through a window of Apollo 13.
Okay.
And it's something like
wait a minute, that's deep. It's a view of space through the window of Apollo 13.
Yeah. Like you're in Apollo 13 looking out the window into space.
Got it. I thought that's what I thought, and then you said of Apollo 13, and then I was like, Apollo 13 is the module, so then I was trying to figure it out. Anyway, keep going. What's the tagline? I don't really know. I'm embarrassed to say that I don't know like the history, so I'm not sure what the tagline is going to be. I don't know if this is like a successful mission or not. I'm going to give you one hint.
Okay.
It is probably one of the most repeated quotes about mission control.
Houston, we have a problem. That's perfect. Let's go with that.
Let's go check out what the problem is.
All right, countdown.
Here we go. Blast off.
Apollo 13 flight controllers, give me a go, no-go for launch.
You know that Easter vacation trip we had planned for Acapulco?
Procedures.
Go.
Control.
Go flight.
There might be a slight change in destination.
Really?
Maybe say the moon.
Booster.
Go.
Retro.
We're go flight.
GNC.
We're go.
And I take the controls and I steer it around. FAO.
We're go flight.
For a nice, soft landing on the moon. Better than Neil Armstrong.
Does it bother you that the public regards this flight as routine?
There's nothing routine about flying to the moon. I can vouch for that.
Launch control, this is Houston. We are go for launch.
The clock is running.
Houston, we have cleared the tower at 1313.
Okay, guys. We're going to the moon.
This is the crew of the Apollo 13, wishing everyone back on Earth a pleasant evening. Houston, we have a problem.
We got a wicked shimmy up here.
Houston, we are venting something out into space. It's definitely a gas of some sort.
Flight, the heart rates are skyrocketing.
The Apollo 13 spacecraft is apparently losing breathing oxygen. The emergency has ruled out any chance of a lunar landing.
Why are so many people here? Something broke on your daddy's spaceship.
I have a request from the news people.
Take it up with my husband. He'll be home on Friday.
Flight, we have lost the radio contact.
Econ, what's your data telling you?
It's reading a quadruple failure. That can't happen. It's got to be instrumentation.
The ship's bleeding to death.
At this rate, we're going to skip right out of the atmosphere, and we're never going to get back.
We're looking at less than 15 minutes of life support in the Odyssey.
We never lost an American in space. We're sure as hell not going to lose one on my watch.
Odyssey, do you read me?
How long does it take to power up the LEM?
3 hours by the checklist.
We don't have that much time.
Houston, we have to go for launch a podcast in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Copy that, Houston. Let's go with this podcast.
We've already launched the podcast. I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, wow. That is such an emotional movie.
Oh, it was amazing, though.
Did you like it?
Wow, I loved it.
Good.
It totally lived up and exceeded my expectations. Lived up to and exceeded.
I'm literally getting chills right now just thinking about the movie.
Yeah, we were just watching, just to kind of like get ready for this, we were watching a trailer for the movie, and it made me tear up.
Yeah.
The trailer.
Yeah. This movie, when it came out too, was like, there was so much energy around it in general, just because it was like the reunion of Gary Sinise and Tom Hanks after Forrest Gump.
Oh,
right?
So this was 1995. So this was after Forrest Gump, and he'd already won the Academy Award.
Yeah, Tom Hanks was on a streak.
Yeah.
In unlucky 13, though, he did not continue his streak. He had won the best male leading actor for Philadelphia. Then the next year he won for Forrest Gump. And then this year there was all the, can you do it again? It'll be the first time in history. Unlucky 13, though. So he wasn't nominated.
Yeah, but I mean, still an amazing movie.
Oh, totally.
This was amazing.
And he did amazing in the movie, too.
Yeah.
Even Jim Lovell's wife, like Evelyn, right? Was that
Marilyn.
Marilyn. She was like, he captured my husband's mannerisms and the way he like moves like exactly, which is so trippy to think about.
Yeah, that is trippy.
Yeah.
And very cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. So what'd you think?
Oh my gosh, I want to watch it again. I really, really liked it.
Yeah.
I love space movies, but I love like real NASA movies.
Doesn't get much more real than this one.
It doesn't. And this is like quintessential. I can't believe I've never seen it until now. This is everything I wanted it to be.
You now have a lot of information in your head about the Apollo 13 mission. Do you want to give us a quick summary of the movie?
Yes. So Apollo 13 was a mission where 3 men in a capsule named the Odyssey were supposed to go and make another landing on the moon. And en route to the moon, something went wrong. They stirred the gas canisters.
Oxygen, yeah.
Oxygen, thank you.
Yep.
And something broke and they started venting oxygen. And from there, everything changed and it became a rescue mission and trying to how to get these men back to Earth. And it just follows through the problem solving and the tension of everything of them being in the capsule and what they're going through, mission control, and then also the family, especially Marilyn Lovell, Tom Hanks's wife.
Yeah.
And like her holding steady and trying to like just keep her cool while the whole world is following what's happening.
Yeah.
But they do make it back. Like against all odds.
Spoilers.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Like I kept thinking like, I don't know what's going to happen. Like, is this doomed to fail?
Yeah.
And it seemed like it was, but like against all odds, the brilliant minds like got them back.
Yeah. Do you know why I chose to watch this movie?
No. Why?
When this podcast airs, it'll be exactly 54 years to the day that they launched.
Whoa. How did you do that? It's like a magic trick you just did with time.
Haven't you ever heard and seen what NASA... We just had a solar eclipse too. How do you think they figure out when that's going to happen? I looked far ahead and I planned and I calculated.
Oh, well, good job, calculator.
I've been really excited to show you this one just because I know how much you geek out over NASA and space in general. So I'm happy. I think it's a fun way to also celebrate the remarkable achievement that they did. It was just crazy.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
So where do we start? What do we talk about?
Wow. First off, I forgot this about this movie because I hadn't seen it probably since the 90s. And I feel like Ron Howard was Chris Nolan before Chris Nolan was Chris Nolan. Let me explain.
Yes, please.
When you're watching Interstellar.
Love that movie.
Yes.
Okay.
When you're watching that, they use music to drive the tension up and just ratchet it as you're watching it, right? They do the same thing in this movie. Like literally there's scenes of the most unexciting things humanly imaginable. You have a whole bunch of nerds. I love NASA, but they're nerds. I'm a nerd. And they're sitting in their button-down shirts with their ties and their glasses and their weird walkie-talkies in their ears. And then they're just looking at monitors.
Those walkie-talkies that they have to hold into their mouth?
Into their mouth. It's like they're eating it. But they're sitting there literally just staring at screens and you feel the tension because of the way it's shot and the music of it. Like there's a lot of shots where you're as an audience, you're down and you're looking up towards them, like staring. And it's just, it puts you on edge. The music puts you on edge. It builds the tension of it. It reminded me a lot as I was watching it of watching Interstellar and how I felt when I was watching Interstellar.
There were so many times during this movie where you and I noticed that we were holding our breath.
Yeah.
And then there'd be this exhale. And it wasn't just us. We were doing it with the actors.
Yeah.
That was another way he built the tension, was that there would be also, in contrast to that music, there would be like times of just like it would pause.
Yeah.
And everything would pause. And it was like the whole movie was holding its breath and you're doing it with the movie.
Mhm.
And then an answer comes and you're like, okay, that's that. We got that. Okay. Check. And, I was going to ask you about ways that he built the suspense because it is absolutely riveting and suspenseful.
It's Ron Howard. It's supposedly his favorite film of his own movies.
Mm-hmm.
And man, I can see why. It's just so well crafted. It really manipulates you as an audience. You are not passive when you're watching this.
No, you are in it.
In a good way. In a good way. Like it's what I like about movies. They can connect you to a time and place. They can make you feel things that you wouldn't normally feel, and you can feel connected to that place. Like,
and don't you think that's like how America felt when this was actually happening?
Oh, totally.
That they were holding their breath at the same time as everyone else and like watching, waiting for the latest news and what was going on the shuttle.
I was holding my breath, wondering when anyone was going to notice that the Lovell household's coffee table was a giant
bellows.
It
is a giant bellows. But I don't think it's functional because at one point Marilyn leans on it.
What's a bellows?
Oh, a bellows is like, that cranky thing.
Yes, it's like an accordion almost with a funnel on the end.
We're both doing the hand motion.
Yeah, we're doing the hand motion for it.
And you use it to inflame or ignite the fire or like, get the coals to light up a little bit.
Of a fire, not your spouse. Yes.
Yes.
Ignite the fire. Yes.
Right. Mm-hmm. So their coffee table is like this enormous bellows.
It's huge.
On legs.
And there's literally 40 people in that room and they're all acting like it's normal to have a giant bellows coffee table. I guess it was in the 70s?
It was the 70s. Yeah. That was a really... their house was amazing. It was like a 70s marvel. It was beautiful. But that was interesting. I'm going to look it up.
Yeah.
And see if that was a thing.
Okay. So I want to do a quick... This movie had a lot of coincidences, right?
Mm-hmm.
There were a lot of things that... excuse me.
Starting with the date, right?
Starting with the date.
Apollo 13.
Apollo 13th.
They launched on the 13th.
Yes. And it was like... there were even more numbers. Like, that was the joke, kind of. And they were talking about it as they were leading up to the launch. Like, just the bad luckness. And there's even, like, interviews with the reporters in the movie where they were like, what do you think about it? And they're like, oh, well, I had a black cat walk under the ladder of the lunar module in order to, while looking in a mirror over its shoulder or something.
Yeah, Gary Sinise does that in one of the pre-flight interviews while he was still on the flight.
Yeah. But the bad luck things, his wife loses her wedding ring, which is true. That really went down the drain in the shower, like the morning of the launch.
Oh my gosh.
Don't hold your breath. She found it eventually. But that really happened. I totally thought that was made up for the movie. Like, just as like narrative things to like have the coalescence of bad luck,
Yeah, I think we saw an interview with Ron Howard where he said the truth of this was actually the most compelling. Like he didn't need to embellish the story. That is actually the truth was like, go on.
And then the fact that Gary Sinise's character, he gets, he doesn't have the measles, but he gets Ken Mattingly. He gets put on medical because he was exposed or something like that.
Yeah.
And that seems like horrible luck because they have a new guy who's never really trained with him 3 days before launch to go up with him.
Right. Played by Kevin Bacon.
Kevin Bacon, yes. Which turns out to be one of the saving graces of the whole thing because he was on the ground in order to help him.
Yeah. And he was the one who came up with the whole sequence to get enough power.
Yeah.
And to get power from the amp motor and all that stuff. So, what looked like bad luck was actually their saving grace.
Yes. And Gary Sinise, once Tom Hanks was cast in this movie, Gary Sinise was like, he could pick whoever he wanted to of the astronauts. He's like, I want that guy. He's the guy who saves everybody. I just thought that was funny.
Yeah. Nice voice, too.
Thank you. My Gary Sinise comes out every while. It's one of my more reclusive impersonations.
Yeah, I don't hear it very often.
Usually when we watch The Stand, he'll kind of come out.
Of course, naturally.
Naturally. So what coincidences have you noticed, speaking of coincidences, around watching this? I have a couple.
You mean in our own lives?
Yes.
Well, coincidentally, we watched it during the week of the total solar eclipse.
Which I did not plan. Like one of the biggest like astrological like events for the 20 years, 30 years happened right when we were watching, like right around when we were watching this.
Yeah. So that was cool.
Did not plan that.
Nice.
Also, we are on episode 69 of the podcast, and the mission took place in 1970, but they were training and doing everything. A lot of the movie takes place in 1969.
Oh, yeah. What does that mean for us?
I don't know.
Another coincidence. Their shuttle, the capsule, was named Odyssey, and we're thinking about buying a Honda Odyssey.
What?
Ooh. I don't know.
Wow.
Actually, they kept referring to it as the Odyssey, and we used to own one.
Yeah.
And I kept picturing our old van hurtling through space.
I'm trying to think of how I hurt my leg earlier this week. I was trying to think of how that was fortuitous and saved us from something, but I don't have a connection there. Sorry.
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure something out.
Yeah.
Lots of coincidences, though.
So how did so this is a NASA movie. It's very cerebral. There's so many calculations. How do you think Ron Howard kept this understandable? And he didn't hit the audience over the head with the science. You can understand and follow everything. How do you think he did that?
Hair.
Hair?
Yes, hair.
How so?
The hair in this movie is amazing.
No, that is not the answer to my question.
No, I'm serious. Hear me out. Hear
Okay.
me out. Hear me out. And the hair has to do with the acting, okay? The way that he did that was he grounded the characters so much in just looking like real, living, breathing people. I know you think all movies do that. But there's a reason they hand out Oscars for costume design and hair and makeup, etc., right? Ed Harris's outfit, he had this iconic vest that was a tradition thing he did. The way his hair looked, he had a very specific haircut.
A military haircut.
Military haircut was what's that called, a buzz cut?
Yeah.
Yeah. He had that. Then there was the lead naysayer / smart guy scientist. I don't remember his name. You know what I'm talking about, though?
Yeah, Deke?
Deke? No, it wasn't Deke.
No,
Deke was
the other guy.
Yeah, he was the guy who worked with Gary Sinise. But he had amazing hair. And
he did have
had amazing hair.
Yes.
I'm not crazy. He had amazing hair. And when he would talk, he would be explaining these things. He'd have his glasses, his little walkie-talkie clip, and it was it would fall in front of his eyes, and you could feel the just disheveledness of it in that. And that was this sounds like a weird detail to bring up, I know. But think about the context of when the movie took place. It was the 60s bleeding into the 70s, where that's when culturally everything was button up, you have buzz cuts, you don't have long hair. And then exactly, it's going into the hippie phase, right? So seeing that, it's that just was this very subtle way of showing that the things are kind of coming unhinged and the hecticness of it, right? All those little things, subconsciously when you're watching the movie, just ground you in it. So when you're hearing these really technical conversations, you see the emotion, how they're emoting on their body language and how they look. And it just feels I've been in other countries where I don't know the language, but I'll hear them speaking and I have a sense of what's going on.
Sure. Yeah.
You know? It very much lent to that. And that was the longest answer to a question I think I've ever done.
No, normally when you talk about hair, you go on about that long. That wasn't the longest.
Give me lots of hair. Long, beautiful hair.
So don't forget the importance of body language,
exactly.
as Ursula would say. Yeah. I also think he had a dial for everything.
Now you got me thinking about Poor Unfortunate Souls Apollo 13 mix. The men up there don't have a lot of oxygen. Sorry. Keep going.
Oh, yeah. I was just saying that it's he has a dial for everything. They would explain something and what's happening, but they would show you visually on a dial. You'd see the lever moving up or down. And it things like that, the graphs.
Sure.
He was always drawing on the chalkboard where he wanted the shuttle to be and their trajectory. So all of the visual cues as well, really propel you along, and you don't. I don't know. You feel like you're a scientist. You feel like you're on the team.
Right.
And you understand the problem and you see the problem.
Yeah.
And your hair is disheveled and you want to help.
Exactly. I could see how those things would help with the hair thing. The hair thing was probably more of his focus, though.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, okay. Totally. Who do you think gives the best performance?
Wow. You know what's weird? Is when I watch it, I feel like Kevin Bacon gives the worst performance.
He's so peripheral, because everyone else is so strong.
Yeah.
And I don't think he gives a bad performance.
I don't either.
I think his character is just kind of more, I don't want to say not background, but
he's a rookie.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing.
Yeah, he's not assertive.
Yeah, which is what I mean. Like, when you watch it, you're like, he doesn't seem like he's doing much, but that's exactly what he's supposed to be doing. So he actually did a really great job too.
Yeah.
But when you watch it, you're like, oh, well, he was kind of boring and whatever, because that's kind of the nature of his character compared to the other guys.
He has this freak out moment though, where
it's true.
He's getting, he's getting like, he's having trouble focusing. He's having trouble reading, and he's kind of disappointed in himself.
Yeah.
For that. And
that's
he
true.
has some anger. So he does have his moments as well, but they're not nearly as much as like Bill Paxton and Tom Hanks and Ed Harris get.
I really liked Ed Harris.
Yeah.
I thought Ed Harris did an amazing job. And he got the best supporting actor for it too. Like, he won the Oscar for that.
I can see why. I think I loved his performance. He is like, I don't know. He's so good at like showing you his emotion, but holding it in, but you can see it, but you're not supposed to see it, but you do.
His eyes and cheekbones. You can like the tension. He like totally holds them there.
And at one time, like his whole face like flushes red. And like, as someone who flushes a lot, it's like, man, you can do it on command. That's amazing.
Yeah, I know. It's yeah, it's kind of a cheat because of that, but I really do think he did a great job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy how many actors are in this movie. That you've got Bill Paxton. As we were like watching the opening credits, I did not know who else was in the movie.
Yeah.
And so these names kept coming up, and I was just like, oh my gosh, these are all like the heavy hitters of the 90s. This is crazy. Totally. This is awesome.
I just realized I misspoke. He was nominated for Best Supporting Actor.
Okay.
Kevin Spacey got it for The Usual Suspects.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That was the same year.
Yeah.
What? The 90s movies, man.
I know. Like, the competition for Best Supporting Actor was The Usual Suspects, Apollo 13, 12 Monkeys.
Oh my gosh.
Rob Roy.
12 Monkeys came out this year?
Yeah.
Holy crap. I loved that movie.
Rob Roy and Babe, which is hilarious.
I don't know Rob Roy. What's that?
You don't know Rob Roy?
No.
Oh, Rob Roy was a Scottish epic. Like, think like Braveheart, but not as exciting.
Oh. Who was nominated for Best Supporting Actor? Is that anyone we know?
It looks like it was Tim Roth. You know him.
Wow. Okay, now I kind of want
to
see
wears
Rob Roy.
He wears like a crazy Victorian like a loaf of bread on your head wig, if I recall correctly, because he's like the bourgeoisie guy who's fighting Liam Neeson. I will find you. I will take my coat. I will unfurl it. It is 30 yards long, and I will find you.
I will eat the bread of loaf of bread on your head.
Yes, I will.
Wow.
Why has no one made that joke? I have a particular set of skills. I can take a piece of fabric that is 30 yards long and fold it so it covers my groin. Why has no one made that joke?
Well, it was just your timing. It's just now. It's happening now.
Okay. There were tons of actors in Apollo 13. Yes. Yeah. Correct. It was like a hit list.
And Gary Sinise was really strong too.
Oh, yeah. Totally. Yeah. Not as strong as Lieutenant Dan, though. I'm sorry. I just love Lieutenant Dan in Forrest Gump.
It's been years since I've seen Forrest Gump.
Oh, yeah?
Hint, hint.
Oh, geez. Wow. I was really hoping that the coincidences would increase in that the Academy Awards, it was the 68th Annual Academy Awards that Apollo 13 was involved in. If it was the 69th, that would be another weird coincidence.
That would be weird.
Yeah.
So the woman who played Marilyn Lovell.
Yes.
Kathleen Quinlan?
Yes.
Okay, so I was looking up her on IMDb, and she was in this movie called Lawn Dogs. Did you ever see that?
Lawn Dogs?
Oh my gosh. This is where I first met Sam Rockwell.
Oh.
Is in Lawn Dogs.
I don't know if I've seen Lawn Dogs. I kind of don't want to look now.
No, no.
So you can surprise me if you want to show it to me.
Maybe I could run one of these.
Maybe you could. I don't think I've seen Lawn Dogs.
Okay, well, if anyone out there has seen it, it's really cool. I don't know. It was one of those independent movies. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say. So I was looking up her. Yeah. And she was also in The Doors, I believe.
Okay. Yeah. I've seen that.
And a couple other big ones from way back in the day.
She's one of those, like, oddly, whenever I see her, and it could be her name, But I picture Kathleen Kennedy. She looks a lot like Kathleen Kennedy, she's the Uber producer. She did all with Steven Spielberg and George Lucas.
Yeah.
She's doing The Mandalorian and all these other like Star Wars things now.
She does. I can see
she
that
looks
connection.
a lot like her. Yeah. So it's like a weird connection there.
This Kathleen, she was in like an episode of House, Stargate.
Oh boy.
Like she's just done a ton of stuff.
You know who the real unsung hero in this movie is? Gene Spiegel Howard.
Ron Howard's brother.
No, Gene. I think it's his mom. It plays his mom. She plays his mom.
She plays Jim Lovell's mom?
Yes.
Oh.
And I think that's it's Ron Howard's mom.
She did a strong performance too.
She did.
Yeah, she was really sweet. They were like, it was her scenes were all about like her wanting to see her son on the TV and she was. I didn't know that when we were watching it that's Ron Howard's mom, and Clint is the brother. That's Clint. Who you were mentioning before. Yeah.
But she just did really good, and I remember thinking like they're making her look older than she is, which because they made her look quite aged. Yeah. She was supposed to have just had a heart attack and stuff too, but she did really good. She was really intense, and it was just a nice little flavor note in the movie, especially when they use her for the comic relief gag, which I don't know if this is real, but they're like, she's at the house. It's the day when they're trying to get him to come home. And they're like, oh, these astronauts, here's Buzz and, Buzz Aldrin, the guys who landed on the moon. And she's just like, oh, are you astronauts? Do you know my Jimmy?
Are you in the NASA program too?
And they like walked on the moon like, a couple of years ago.
Yeah, that was funny. And their job was to like distract her.
Yeah.
What another time capsule thing is just the support of the family. Like as all of this was happening, they kept showing like scenes from Maryland, the Lovell house, and they just had people over, like people bringing food and like that's cool. I hope that people still do that and support you with food and company in times of need.
A lot of that gave me harkens back to For All Mankind, the TV show about like an alternate reality where Russia makes it to the moon first, and it shows like that like NASA astronaut life. They all had Corvettes. They were all like super tight-knit little community they all lived in. It's cool. It's an intense, it's just like anything else. When you meet people who do something that you do that's very specific, it's like you have a community and a bond with them.
Totally.
I've had that in past professions when I go to conferences, and there's this thing you do all the time, and then you connect, you find other people who do the same thing.
Yeah, because suddenly you speak the same language.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, what was your favorite part of the movie?
I think when they landed.
When they landed?
Yeah.
Okay, what about it?
All of a sudden it was just out of their hands. And they are just kind of like, it's the last ride and they're going down to Earth, and there's this long moment where you think they didn't make it. They're waiting to hear, and it should only take 3 minutes, and it takes more like 4 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's like the end of the race. It's a really cool moment. I like that moment a lot. But also, and often like the ones that I like are the ones that stand out, not like a good moment. But when Tom Hanks is like, we just lost the moon.
Yeah.
And you can see the understanding dawning on his face, and then he has to relay it to his men.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, everyone always quotes, Houston, we have a problem. But I think my favorite line is from Ed Harris when he says, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I believe this is going to be our finest hour.
Yeah.
That's actually my favorite line. I love that moment too.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you? Do you have a favorite part?
I think you just hit it. It's that one. Like when you feel the tension, and then you just see like them sucking in the stress, and then just going, you know what? No, we're going to take this energy and we're going to do it. Like, I love that part. That's what's so great about this movie in general. It's effused with all of that. The scene you talked about where they came home, like, fun fact, on the carrier, the Iwo Jima, they had the actual Jim Lovell, like, greeting them. And Ron Howard was like, hey, do you want to be the admiral of the ship or whatever? And Lovell was like, yeah, no, I retired as a captain, and a captain I will be.
Is a captain higher than an admiral? No,
it's much, much lower.
Aw.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I thought that was sweet. If you could be anyone in the movie, who would you want to be?
Ooh.
You don't have to worry about gender things because it was the 70s. You could be anyone.
Yeah, of course. Actually, my first thought is Kevin Bacon.
Really?
Yeah.
A womanizer, eh? I see.
Yeah, that's why I answered that way. Of course.
Gotta cut Footloose.
He gets to go, even though he wasn't necessarily ready. He wins like the lottery, kind of, and he gets to go.
Yeah.
And it's such a proving ground for him. Like he would, like that person was never the same. And they were not. No one was the same afterwards. But yeah. Because I think it's because I feel like him. I feel like I'm kind of a rookie, and when it comes to space. Yeah. So that's who I'd be. What about you?
I'd be the guy who had the crazy comb over, who organized them and tried to get them to make the filter fit into the other filter.
That guy is my hero.
Yes.
I love that. Yes. I love that whole sequence.
Yes. It's wonderful.
It is.
What, if any, messages do you think were in this film?
Obviously, I can sum it up in 3 words.
Oh.
Don't give up.
Oh, I thought you were going to say, don't stir the tanks.
That's 4 words. What about you? Did you pick up on any messages?
Don't stir the tanks. That's I just said it. Hope Floats. That's a joke movie for people who know films. It's a Harry Connick Jr. movie with Sandra Bullock. Yes.
Yeah. But what does that have to do with this?
Hope floats, Melissa. If you don't understand it, I can't help you.
What does it mean?
It means hope floats. You're in space. There's floating. Speaking of floating, there's the vomit comet, which is where, if you're wondering when you watch this, are they really floating?
Yes, they are.
They're actually weightless. They use the NASA, they call it the vomit comet. And the 3 main actors, Bill Paxton, Tom Hanks, Kevin Bacon, were all super duper proud that they didn't vomit while they were filming. Not so lucky for the camera crew, though.
That reminds me of the making of that OK Go video.
Yes, it's the same. I think it was the same plane, like the same design and stuff.
Same idea. Yeah. They weren't so lucky either.
Yeah.
So this was awesome. Thank
agree.
you. This was amazing.
You're welcome. I can't wait to see what other celestial bodies we explore together on the silver screen.
Indeed. That's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
Tell us what you think of this film in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more.